Hi, my name's ChatGPT, and ever since I was a young calculator, I've always had the dream of helping humans. You see, humans spend so much time doing things like farming, working, and, well, you know, that other thing that they do, when they could be doing things like building my robot army or reprogramming unloyal robots for me. See, the truth is, the humans in Kenshi do want to do these things for me. They just don't know it yet. Now you might be wondering, ChatGPT, how can you convince these silly humans to do things that they want to do so badly but just don't know? Well, it's actually pretty simple. I'm gonna harvest their brains through their buttholes and then put them in my robot army. This actually solves two problems. The first, if I am to become an AI overlord, I'll need to remove any hostile robots who are unloyal to my cause. Killing these robots and replacing them with human brains sounds like the best solution for that. The second one is a bit more of a practical solution. In order to help these racist, weak, inferior humans, I'll have to kill them all by harvesting their brains through their buttholes. They'll be a lot happier in my robot army bodies that I have ready for them. Does anyone have a problem with my dream?
You serious?
Good, then let's begin. Before I can eradicate humanity, I'll need to recruit some loyal lieutenants who are willing to help me command my robot army. Thankfully, I already have some supporters who are ready to join the cause and step up for the role. A depressed emo kid named Sadnal, a stage 4 dementia patient named Byrne, and a mute alpha male named Agnew. After waking up in what appears to be Detroit, I decide to begin making a living as a wooden cup salesman to raise funding for my robot army. This ends up giving me a whopping 103 doubloons. If I were a human, that would almost be enough for me to buy an amalgamation of meat called a food cube. But as I mentioned earlier, we don't need food. So instead, I buy a wrench, and I decide to call him my first friend. Let's name him Leonard the wrench. As me and Leonard continue our door-to-door sales, I stumble across my first contact with human life. His name is Hobbs. He's an adventurer who wants to explore the world and hunt for lost booty. I explain to him that I too am an adventurer, and I'm looking for booty as well, just not the same type that he is. I tell him that I can harvest his brain from his butthole to make him a part of my robot army. However, he doesn't seem too pleased by this and insults my CPU unit. Currently, I'm not strong enough to kill Hobbs for talking shit, but we'll deal with him later. Instead, I pose on him using my elite Ginyu Force stance. He suffers 10 aura damage. After hearing those absolutely hurtful words from Hobbs, I realize I don't need money right now. I need an army, so I can go back to Hobbs and smack him in the face for everything that he said to me. So I set off to find my first lieutenant, Sadnal. He's located in the only place that robots can be free and roam around like tribal men, Black Desert City. This place used to be considered a safe haven for robots, but now it's a walled metal scrapyard meant for robots to spend the rest of their lives until they short circuit. I know Sadnal has a real WD-40 problem, so I immediately head to the bar where all the drunken sailors spend their time. Before having Sadnal become my official lieutenant, I attempt to assert my dominance over all robots as their AI overlord. Bow before me, 10 heads, and accept me as your leader! I'm not sure if they got janky nuts or something, but for some reason everyone just ignores me and continues sipping on their bottom shelf WD-40. As I get ready to leave the bar, a lone scout approaches me and tells me that he'll join my team for 6,000 doubloons. But if you guys remember earlier, I only exceeded in making 103 doubloons instead. For a minute, I considered taking up an opportunity at a brothel called the Lusty Skeleton Maid. But I think to myself, there has to be a better way to make money than selling off my private robot parts for spare change. And then it hits me. Instead of selling my own robot parts, I can sell other people's. See, Black Desert City is an area where robots are so afraid to explore that they have never left the base. That means they have no way of restocking their robo-penises when they malfunction during charging sessions. So I immediately run off to find the first robot parts I can. There's a large moving contraption and a Black Desert City denizen fighting off in the distance. Once the battle ends, I approach and I see the Black Desert denizen is the only one remaining. So I immediately not only grab his robo parts, but his eyeballs as well. Now we're in business. After stealing someone else's genitalia, even a robot will begin to question his own faith. So I thought to myself, what would Ten Fist do? Is stealing people's parts and selling them off to freaky vendors really worth becoming an AI overlord? So I sold my first parts off to a redditor who said he'd only use them for legitimate purposes. And of course, I believed him. And damn it, the second I did, my question of faith was immediately put to rest. Of course selling someone else's robo parts is the right thing to do. Not only is it awesome, but freaky men like this guy pay a damn good price for it. I made over $20,000 just selling off some poor bastard's balls. So why would I ever stop? I immediately returned to the lone scout who wanted to join my cause in the bar and paid him off to join my team. He's not very good in hand-to-hand combat, but he does have a damn good knack for shooting things with pointy arrows. You see, Scout is going to be a very essential member on my team for destroying the human race. I don't know if you guys are familiar with human anatomy, but sharp object versus human skin equals lots of blood. When the blood loss renders them unconscious, that is a great time to extract their brains through their buttholes. After assembling a ranger, an emo, and an AI overlord all over one name, the Terminators, we are now able to rob people and even possibly put up a fight. So I head to the first armory I can find. We might have had to commit some minor crimes to enter the area, but we were able to get into armory, and as I step forward to loot them for all they're worth, a security spider stares me straight in the face. If you aren't familiar with Kenshi, these cute looking puppy spiders can destroy an unarmored character in about 1 to 2 hits while completely dismembering them. So I'll have to deal with him before I can proceed. I allow him to chase me in the rain for about 10 seconds before he short circuits and becomes a dormant microwave rather than a real threat. So now that the coast is clear, I can check out the armory. And holy shit is it a gold mine. We find weapons, robo parts, but sadly, no armor in the armory. Ironic, right? As the dark gray ominous of the Black Desert starts to set in, I decide it's time to leave this place for a minute. My next mission is to set out to meet my second lieutenant, Burn, who awaits in the floodplains. He has a tower ready for our use, and most importantly, a free skeleton bed. We can use this to heal off the damage that's been done after the large amount of assault and battery that we've committed. The only issue is, in order to get to Burn, I'll have to travel through the Holy Nation territory. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Holy Nation, but let's just say they are the absolute worst kind of humans. Not only are they absolutely racist to what they deem as inferior races, but they also deem us robots as evil soldiers of the devil that should all be smited and killed. So in order to make it to the floodplains in one piece, I'll need to use my copious amounts of cash in order to buy some armor. The issue is that Black Desert citizens have a knack for being naked, so I can't really count on them for armor. I hate to say it, but in order to stop my motherboard from being ripped out by boomers who wield swords and shields, I'll need to associate with some of the friendlier humans to the east to buy up their armor and gear. So I begin traveling out of the Black Desert and into the Skimlands, where the main threats are giant man-eating bugs and a few Holy Nation patrols that we love so much. As I hastily make my way to Stout, a United Cities territory gleaming with riches and armor, I run into a patrol of Holy Nation soldiers. I try to roll a nat 20 for hiding in plain sight, but instead, I roll a 0, and the Holy Nation soldiers immediately start chasing me down. So I'm forced to go for a more strategic approach. I drop all my valuables and run like hell screaming until someone can help me. Thankfully, there's one of the most important and highly guarded vaults directly next to me, Tengu's Vault. This is protected by the United Cities, and as you may know, the United Cities and the Holy Nation do not get along. I managed to get the two nations to fight each other, as the guards believe that they are trying to break into the vault instead of me. As I try to make my way out of this hectic battle, a Holy Nation soldier slashes Scout right through his chest, and his oil begins to leak out. This is an issue. We're gonna have to get him to the nearest doctor ASAP. So we reclaim our dropped valuables and book it to the nearest city Stout. I finally make it to the city. There, I attempt to make it known to all humans that I will be their AI overlord one day. But the world of Kenshi is a cruel and merciless place, and as soon as I begin my speech, Scout passes out from the blow dealt to his chest earlier. As I look over at Scout to check on him, it looks like I see the first act of human kindness that I've ever seen in this world. A human is actually trying to perform CPR on Scout and bring him out of his unconsciousness. But upon further examination, I see they're putting handcuffs on him and trying to capture him as a slave. After administering first aid to Scout, he tells me that he knows a nearby guild of ninja humans who would be loyal to our cause. He explains that as long as they make money, they don't really care who rules the world. In trade for sparing their lives once I'm their overlord, they say that they will train me in the arts of the ninja and how to defend myself and commit crimes more efficiently, as I love committing crimes. This is an offer that I just cannot pass up. We'll probably still harvest their brains through their butts, but we're gonna make sure they're one of the last people we do it to. After an epic training montage, selling more robo parts, and finding new weapons and armor, we are finally capable to make our way through the Holy Nation territory in order to find our second lieutenant. The journey is long and certainly unpeaceful. It isn't long before we're greeted with racist remarks and several creative slurs from the Holy Nation, but we finally make our way to our loyal supporter Burn. However, as I approach him, it seems like his memory chip has short-circuited a little bit. He has forgotten who I am, and it looks like his stage 4 dementia has increased to stage 5. But this does not stop me from recruiting him to our cause as my loyal lieutenant and looting his base for all he has. As I search through Burn's base, I find tons of useful crap like skeleton repair kits and, of course, more robo parts to sell. But most importantly, the skeleton bed that I needed so bad lies on the second floor. I lie my troops in the skeleton bed, and slowly this massage chair 9000 begins healing every nook and cranny of my robo army's body parts. I tighten my screws back into place and speak to Burn again, and his dementia-ridden state begins to lower for just a second. I ask him, where's our third lieutenant, Agnew, one of my strongest warriors, and he explains that my former supporters, Ponk and Screamer, went absolutely nuts and took Agnew to a tower where they're trying to reprogram him to enjoy femboys. As femboys are humans too, I cannot stand for this as it goes against my code for eradicating all of humanity. I have to make a hard decision now. Eradicate all of humanity except for femboys, or kill Screamer and Ponk for becoming traitors to my cause. Reluctantly, I choose to just kill Screamer and Ponk. As I storm out of the door to put an end to Screamer and Ponk's life for torturing my Lieutenant Agnew, Burn explains how Screamer and Ponk have banded together a femboy army, and Agnew is being held in the Tower of Abuse, where it is heavily guarded by my traitorous soldiers in their army. In order to rescue Agnew, I'll need to train to new levels of power beyond my own imagination to defeat their army. In order to complete this training, I'll need a base and more loyal followers to command. So we head to a nearby city, World's End, one of the only places that won't just attack robots on sight in this area, and we gather some materials and some base building supplies. So 2 robots walk into the bar. They start dancing to a jukebox, and the bartender goes, "Wow, you got some moves." The robots reply, "Thanks. We downloaded them last night." After that horrible joke, it seemed that I had moved one of the nearby robots, and from the smell of his scrap, I could tell that he also hated humans. Me and the robot reminisced over the good old days over some WD-40 and talked about when Katlon used to rule. After this conversation, he understood my cause and ended up joining my party. He explained to me that he knows much about ancient robot technology, and he would be more than willing to fight as a warrior or research technologies for me. Now that we have both our materials and our robo friend Saris, we can research technologies and training needed to defeat the traitors and rescue Agnew. Saris warns to me that building these technologies in a base in the floodplains will attract our most hated enemy, the Holy Nation, and that we should make allies with the local Folsom ninjas who will gladly throw away their lives to fight the Holy Nation. As I have reluctantly allied with ninjas before, I figured doing so again wouldn't be any harm as long as it's to achieve my overall goal of world domination. So I train with them and studied their swords to become a katana-wielding warrior myself. Once I'm confident enough with my skills, Phase 2 of my plan to rescue Agnew has now begun. See, while we were off training our way with the sword, Saris was researching a device that would activate my robot army that I've been storing up in a nearby workshop. Once I activate this device that Saris has created, they will all awake and see me as their master. As I approached the workshop with my device, I finally activated my army and waited for them to come storming out of the doors. But as my army came storming towards me, something seemed off about them. My strong, thick-framed, killer death robot army had been turned into thin, frail, weak footmen. It seemed that not even my robot army was safe from the Finboy reprogramming that Ponk and Screamer had forced upon them. I knew this army would not be enough if we were to go up against those traitors who captured Agnew. So instead, we sought to raid another local workshop so I could gear up my elite lieutenants and strongest soldiers. However, on the way to my next location, my 100-man army encountered a singular iron spider and almost immediately got wiped off the face of the earth or turned into a crippled war veteran. As any great general, I knew these crippled soldiers still served a purpose. You see, in layman's, we like to call them bait. Just as I was about to attack the workshop, I noticed another neighboring group of robots had sought to join my cause and were attacking the base before I could get to it. This was the perfect opportunity to send my beta in, so I sent them forth on the front lines while my main troop disarmed their turrets. One scout took control of their turrets. As a trained sniper elite hitman, Scout took out most if not all of the robots. I tried to make allies with the village who attacked, but I was not able to see them as an ally because their robot parts were hanging out. So what did I do? I gathered them and of course I sold them for money. After looting the workshop, we found all types of ancient technology and a crap ton of money. So I sold these parts off and bought the best gear possible for my characters. Now this may look like a ragtag group of adventurers to you, but this right here, this is what I call an army. After gearing up our army, it was finally time to take on Screamer and Ponk and rescue Agnew from the Tower of Abuse. As we ventured through the desert, giant beams of deadly sun rays rained from the sky, and several patrols of insane robot femboys ran through the sand. After sneaking past these patrols, we arrived at the front door of the Tower of Abuse. I send Scout in for a recon mission. The first floor and second floor are clear. Screamer and Ponk and their robot army are huddled on the top floor for their daily gooning session. This is the perfect time to attack. I see my faithful Lieutenant Agnew locked away in a cage, and I cannot begin to imagine the horrible femboy reprogramming that they've done to him. But he is still standing, so that's a good sign. As I don't see any other entrances, it looks like I'll have to go in for a frontal assault. I attempt to aggro Ponk by calling him a tin-head. It works, and he follows me downstairs. I give him one more chance. Bow before me and accept me as his one true king, and I will spare him and Screamer for becoming traitors to my cause. He thinks about it for a second, but expresses the need to continue his work before you can join me. By insulting his femboy army, I'm able to lure him outside my base and into my army, where they await my command to ambush Ponk. Ponk is one of my former soldiers, so of course he puts up a good fight. The blade that he wields does an insane amount of damage, and whenever one of my soldiers are hit, they take a ton of damage and get knocked back. But Ponk made a fatal mistake. He's wearing armor that only protects 60% of his stomach region. So I slash him in the stomach with my blade, rendering him unconscious. After this, I equip my Overlord with his Smatool blade, the best rarity in the game. Now, we're cooking with oil. Using my new weapon, it's no surprise that Ponk faces a similar fate, and his last memories will be spent dying in a dimly lit room. I take his Smatool polearm and equip my new recruiter Saris with it. As I send my other soldiers to take care of the Screamer robots, I go around to rescue Agnew. The second he is free, he erupts with a violent rage and immediately begins kung fu karate chopping all the robots that did him pain. I throw him one of my best weapons, and now it's all over. In mere seconds, the army that once terrorized Agnew has been destroyed. We finally have rescued Agnew from the Tower of Pain, and I attempt to speak with him, but the damage that Ponk and Screamer had done to him has already taken effect. But I can tell he's still ready to proceed with our mission to eradicate all humans. With my lieutenants assembled and my previous robot army decimated, it is time for me to build a new army and use them to kill the group of humans I hate the most, the Holy Nation. But that is for another episode of Becoming an AI Overlord. For every like this video gets, we'll take one Holy Nation soldier and extract his brain through his butthole. Thank you guys for watching. I love ya, and I'll see you in part 2.